Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play on GAA. My name is Seamus Brady. I have Luke Payton here with me, and we're going to be doing our match review of Dublin going away and beating Tipperary by 216 to 21 points. Luke, you were right on the money. You predicted Dublin to win by 1 point. Me personally, I didn't think Dublin had it in us to win this game, but we did. Tipperary had Seamus Callanan back and all, but Dublin held on for a 1 point victory. This is a fantastic victory from Maddie Kenny's side.
Yeah, definitely. And it was kind of ropey a bit at the end where they were gonna be comfortably over the line by about 5 or 6, and then the last 10 minutes, they did well. I think it was 12 minutes actually. They didn't score for the final towards the end of the game, and a bit of a worry there. But overall, I think it was a very good performance. It was a good cohesive performance. I don't think there was anyone really hugely in particular that kind of stood out. I think there was a lot of nice kind of play with the Dubs, and that the formation looks good as well, where there a lot of work right in around the middle, and then direct ball into Whiteley and Mellett, and the two of them were out in front every time. So that's a big positive as well. And the fact that getting Ronan Hayes kind of scoring again, he can be very frustrating in that he has an awful lot of wides, and he can kind of lose ball very easily. But he's got that magic in him as well. So that's really important for Dublin to kind of get him moving there. But overall, this is a big result, because going down to Thurles and getting a result down there, Dublin, they just don't do that really kind of that often. There was a couple of years ago, they got their first win in Thurles for, I don't know how many years it was, but it was a long time. So any time Dublin go down to Thurles and win, no matter the margin of victory, anytime you go and win down there is huge, and for confidence in the camp it must be absolutely vital. And going into the games, they'll have one big game against Kilkenny coming up, and then after that it's winnable. So I think they'll be pretty happy with where they're at, and they've a good chance of kicking on from here and maybe looking to see if we can push for a league final.
I agree. And throughout the game I thought we were hugely impressive. I thought Donald Burke and Fergal Whiteley, Ronan Hayes, you mentioned, his goal was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the ball from Danny Sutcliffe, the high catch from Ronan Hayes, brilliant turn as well, turn on the sixpence, burnt the Tipperary defender and then bats it into the net. And that was a huge goal for Dublin, because soon after, Donald Burke tagged on another point. We kept the 5 point lead, and that pretty much saw us home. We only had to score one more point to get over the line. But let's not forget as well, Jason Ford had that goal chance right at the end of the game. I don't know, did it get caught under his feet or something, but somehow Tipperary left that attack with nothing and Dublin left with the win. But yeah, that spurt with Ronan Hayes' goal and Donald Burke's point, that proved to be what won the game for Dublin in the end.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was just that period after halftime that Dublin kind of took over that game. And for a wide kind of period there up to, I'd say, the third quarter, Dublin, they just looked vastly kind of superior on the day. And they were winning an awful lot of ball. The half back line in particular, like Paddy Smith and James Madden as well, played very, very well there. They kind of mopped up an awful lot of ball. So that was the winning of the game, really. Danny Sutcliffe's work rate during that period as well was absolutely huge. He laid an awful lot of ball into the full forward line. And I think for Tipp, they losing Carl Barrett before the start of the game was a huge blow, because the full back line was very, very slow at times. And Whiteley and Mellett and Hayes, they were every time they made a run, they were essentially out in front. And there was even times Mellett was able to go out at his leisure and pick it up. There was a few times he didn't even catch it clean, and he's still enough time to bend down, pick up the ball and everything, and then pick a pass from there as well. So he had so much time when he was out in front as well. So I think Dublin will be happy enough, but they will bear in mind that this Tipp team are they're not really where they need to be right now, and they're probably a fair bit behind where they'll be at in Championship in a month's time too. So that's just, I think, the caveat that Dublin has to take going forward, is that it's a great win, but this Tipp team, they're probably a fair bit behind some of the teams they're going to be playing later on in the year.
Yeah, I agree that even then, when you look at it, Dublin hit 216. I mean, in my opinion, that's not going to be enough to beat a Cork or a Limerick or a Waterford later on in the year, especially with the tallies that they're racking up. So I think it's a good win for Dublin. But one of the other signs that I thought was really good was the Rian McBride goal was just pure teamwork. I mean, Danny Sutcliffe had a wonderful bit of skill to lash it down the field. And then Ronan Hayes with a super pickups, laid it off to Fergal Whiteley. Great run by him. He gives it to Chris Crummy. Great run by Chris Crummey. McBride's on the shoulder. He lays it off and McBride buries it. That was a pure teamwork goal. And, obviously Matty Kenny now in his 4th year, his team has really kind of taken shape now. It's clear what his kind of strategy is. Interestingly enough, one thing that was highlighted was Paddy Smith at centre back. Now, obviously, we've gone through the centre backs under Matty Kenny. I mean, first it was Sean Moran, then it was Liam Rush. Dara Gray obviously was in there for a spell before moving out to the wing. Now Paddy Smith at centre back, and he had a good game. But, when Liam Rush comes back into the side, if he does, do you see Smith staying at centre back, or where do you see Rush going?
Yeah, look, that's the really interesting question, because that when looking through the Dublin team, I think mostly it picks itself. Look, that Dara Gray is probably going to come back in for John Bellio at wing back, and he'll be playing there. And then I think that's like the only question really left is that spot there as well, is that who's going to play centre back, because you look at the full back line yesterday, and look, they were absolutely dominant with Andrew Dunphy, Owen O'Donnell, and Keane O'Callaghan. So I can't really see any of them losing their spot in the full back line. So that kind of, Paddy Smith's been kind of roped into playing centre half back a little bit, and most people assume that Liam Rush is just going to walk back in. But look, I think Don Logue was talking about this last night on League Sunday, was that Liam Rush, like, the problem with him at intercounty level is that kind of lack of pace, and that it can be sometimes that he needs a bit of protection with him. Like, he need Conor Burke dropping back the whole time in front of him to kind of cut out that lack of pace. So I think with Paddy Smith, you get a bit more mobility in around there. Like, he's still not the fastest player in centre half back, but he brings a bit more mobility. So it's the question is, if you put in performances like that, does Liam Rush actually get back in? And that's the kind of unknown, I think, about Dublin at the moment, is that, look, Manny's going to have to make a call there. I think with Liam Rush's presence and his stature in the squad, he probably comes back in. But then, look, that leaves the question, where does Paddy Smith go? So I think that's the big conundrum facing Dublin going forward.
Yeah, without doubt. And I mean, on the flip side, Tipperary, after their great win against Kilkenny, I mean, they probably would have expected to win this game, especially with it being at home. Where do you see them at now?
Yeah, look, well, I said it after the Kilkenny game that even though they won that game by a point, I'd be happier if I was a Kilkenny fan right now. And I just wasn't really impressed for where Tipp were at all. And I think it's a rebuild, and that it's probably going to be a bold enough take, but I just don't see them getting out of Munster this year. I just can't see it. And that I think there's too much work kind of to be done there to go forward. And look, they got back in the game, but they have to bring on the likes of Noel McGrath, John McGrath as well. And they went back to tried and tested, and they nearly dragged them over the line just by going back to them. So, I think, look, for Colin Bonner this year, he's going to be half trying to use those players as well with their experience, but then half trying to blood players as well. And I'm just not sure about the balance at the moment. Like, you look at some of the other lads in there as well, like Seamus Callan looks a million miles away from where he's been in previous years. He just didn't look fit at all. His touch was wrong too as well. And look, this is kind of happening in the league a bit, but it just didn't really seem right. Like, midfield, I'm not sure. I think their midfield is probably the weakest in Munster. And then just between all of it, I'm not fully sure. The full back line there's problems about in there too as well with pace and everything as well. I don't think Brian McGrath's a natural full back. I think he's much better wing back. So they have an awful lot to work out. And they're trying as well this new style in the league, the kind of short passing and everything as well. And it's just, it doesn't look fully natural at the moment. So I'd be fairly concerned about Tipp, and I'd be nearly saying to Tipp to not go in with huge expectations for this year, and that this year is about just start blooding players and let's just try and evolve and move on to next year. Because if they can get those players that have won all those underage All-Irelands, there's a makings of a really, really good team. I just don't see it this year.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think that Cork, Waterford and Limerick are just ahead of them right now. I would even say that Clare are more kind of developed than Tipp right now. The likes of, especially when Peter Duggan and the like come back into the Clare side, I think they're ahead of Tipp. But I think if Tipp go with the young lads and give it time for the likes of Jake Morris, Mark Keogh to get into the side, I think it is only a matter of time before they hit the top of the game again. I think it's time to completely commit to the transition from the likes of Shay Callan and so on, and go with these young lads and have a bit of faith in them. That's what I would do. But it would be interesting to see how it all plays out. Dublin with a big win here. I mean, a real seal of approval type win. Dublin 2-16, Tipperary 21 points. Dublin eyeing up a potential league final. It'll be fascinating to see how it plays out. Guys, that is our match review here on Play On GAA. Keep an eye out for all the other videos across the channel over the weekend of the weekend's action. And until the next video, guys, take care.